Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like he cares more than he lets on, yet you're left wondering if it's real? What if I told you that he's more in love with you than even he realizes, and that there are subtle signs, hiding in plain sight, that reveal the truth? Today, I'm going to show you exactly what to watch for, the moments and gestures that speak louder than words, so you can finally see the depth of his heart and understand a love that's quietly stronger than either of you could imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to talk about something that many of you may have felt, but few of you have been able to articulate. The idea that sometimes the person you're with, or the person you're interested in, feels far more for you than they even realize themselves. This is not a fantasy, this is real, and it's all about recognizing the subtle signs, the small but powerful clues that reveal what's truly in his heart. So, I want you to listen carefully, because if you can start noticing these things, your entire understanding of your relationship can shift in a way that's both empowering and deeply comforting. First, let's acknowledge something important. Men don't always express love in the ways we expect. Society has conditioned them to hold back, to hide vulnerability, to feel like showing emotion is somehow weak. And yet, if you pay attention to the nuances, the little things, you can see it, you can feel it, the gestures, the moments, the behaviors that speak louder than any words ever could. You might be thinking, but he doesn't say it, he doesn't text me, he doesn't tell me he loves me every day, and that's okay. Love doesn't always come wrapped in language. Often, it's woven into the fabric of the way he interacts with you. And here's the kicker. Many times, he doesn't even realize how deeply he's attached to you, how central you've become in his world. So, how do you spot it? The first sign to watch for is the way he prioritizes you without even thinking about it. It might not be grand declarations or sweeping gestures. It's in the everyday choices. Does he adjust his schedule to fit you in? Does he remember the small details about you that no one else seems to notice? That's not coincidence. That's love in action. That's a man who's thinking about you more than he knows. And when you see these moments, don't dismiss them. Recognize that they are the silent language of his heart. The second sign is how he reacts when you're happy or when you're upset. A man who is more in love than he realizes will mirror your emotional state without even trying. Your joy becomes his joy. Your stress becomes his concern. He might not say, "I love you," in that instant, but you can feel it in how he leans in, how he listens, how he shows up. There's a subconscious devotion in that attentiveness. It's as if his entire world shifts when you are in it, and he doesn't even fully understand why he feels so compelled to care for you so deeply. Now, let's talk about vulnerability. This is huge. Men in love often reveal cracks in their armor when they are around someone who truly matters. It might be small at first, a moment of hesitation, a confessional comment, an honest admission about his fears or insecurities, but it's significant. If you notice that he's letting you see sides of himself that he rarely shows anyone else, it's because you occupy a space in his heart that is sacred, even if he doesn't consciously acknowledge it yet. That vulnerability is love disguised as honesty. It's him saying, without saying, that he trusts you with the very core of who he is. Another sign to notice is how he invests in your life. This isn't about expensive gifts or grand gestures. It's about effort, time, attention, and consistency. He asks questions about your day. He remembers things you've mentioned in passing. He shows up when it matters most. This is a man whose feelings are deeper than he consciously realizes, because he's prioritizing you in ways that go beyond logic or convenience. And here's the beautiful part. This type of investment doesn't come from obligation. It comes from an instinctive pull, a magnetic desire to be present in your life because your happiness and your well-being have become intertwined with his own sense of purpose. Let's also look at how he communicates with you, especially in the moments that are not dramatic or emotional. Notice his tone, the jokes he makes, the care he takes in the way he says things. Even his silence can speak volumes. There's a subtle energy that exists when someone is more in love than they realize. It's a mix of admiration, protection, and a desire to belong. It's not always about words. Sometimes the loudest declaration of love is the feeling you get when you with him. how safe you feel, how cherished, how prioritized. One of the most fascinating signs is how he defends you, not necessarily in a confrontational way, but in the small protective gestures. Does he stand up for you in subtle ways? Does he support your opinions when others might dismiss them? Does he quietly ensure that you are being treated with respect? This is an unconscious manifestation of love. He may not consciously think, I am more in love with her than I know, but the truth is, his actions are proving it every day. And when you recognize this, you realize that love is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and steady and insistent in the most beautiful ways. Now, it's crucial to address one more thing. Men often underestimate the depth of their own feelings because they are afraid of losing control. Love can feel scary, especially when it hits harder than they expect. They might rationalize it, play it cool, or even convince themselves that what they feel is casual or fleeting. But the subtle signs, the care, the attention, the quiet devotion, don't lie. They reveal what the heart knows, even if the mind hasn't caught up yet. And if you can recognize this, you gain clarity, you gain insight, you gain the ability to respond with awareness rather than confusion to the love that is quietly growing right in front of you. So, how do you respond when you see these signs? First, honor them. Don't dismiss them as coincidence or luck. Recognize that this is real. Second, allow space for this love to grow. Men, like all people, need the freedom to explore and understand their own feelings. Your awareness of his unconscious love can actually help him see what's already there, without pressure or expectation. Third, continue to observe the patterns, not just the moments. Love isn't a single grand gesture, it's a series of small, consistent choices, repeated over time. When you notice these patterns, you start to understand the depth of his heart. The truth is, when a man is more in love than he realizes, it changes everything. It changes the way he shows up, the way he thinks about you, the way he prioritizes his time and energy. And when you recognize it, you can interact with him from a place of clarity and confidence, rather than doubt. You no longer need to chase or question his feelings. Instead, you can appreciate the layers of love that are already there, gently emerging, waiting to be acknowledged. And here's the empowering part. Understanding these signs isn't about manipulating someone or forcing them to feel something. It's about clarity. It's about seeing the truth of a connection that is deeper than words. It's about realizing that sometimes love is more powerful than even the person experiencing it can comprehend. And when you start noticing these signs, you gain insight, confidence, and the ability to nurture a love that is quietly profound, endlessly patient, and authentically real. And when you start noticing these signs, you gain insight, confidence, and the ability to nurture a love that is quietly profound, endlessly patient, and authentically real. But there's another layer to this, something even more subtle that often goes unnoticed. How he thinks about the future with you, even if he's not ready to say it out loud. Pay attention to the way he includes you in his imagination, in his plans, in his casual what-if scenarios. Does he talk about trips he wants to take or things he wants to do and instinctively place you in them? Does he casually mention shared dreams without even realizing how intentional it is? That's a sign of someone whose heart is quietly anchoring itself to yours. He may not consciously say, I can't imagine my life without you, but every time he folds you into his vision of what's next, it's love in action. And it's not just about big plans. Watch for the small decisions he makes, how he checks in with you before making choices that affect your time together, how he adjusts without complaint to accommodate your needs, or how he seeks your input in ways that go beyond politeness. These actions reveal a man who is emotionally invested, even if he doesn't fully articulate it, and this is where your power comes in. Recognizing this early, seeing it for what it is, allows you to feel secure in the connection and respond with a clarity that naturally draws him closer. You don't need to demand more. The love is already present. Your role is to witness it, acknowledge it, and allow it to flourish. Another crucial sign to observe is the way he reacts to your boundaries. A man who is genuinely more in love than he knows will respect your space, honor your limits, and support your independence. He doesn't see your autonomy as a threat. Instead, he values it as part of the equation, recognizing that your happiness and fulfillment are integral to the health of your connection. Notice whether he accommodates your needs without resentment or frustration. That subtle patience is a reflection of genuine attachment, a quiet, almost unconscious demonstration that he's invested in you more deeply than he might consciously realize. There's also the way he expresses admiration for you. And I don't mean the casual, surface-level compliments that anyone can give. I'm talking about the observations that reveal genuine attention to your unique qualities. Does he notice your growth, your strengths, the way you handle challenges, or the little quirks that make you you? Admiration is often a sign of unacknowledged love, because it indicates that he's paying attention at a level most people never reach. He's absorbing who you are, celebrating it internally, and letting that influence the way he interacts with you, even if he's not vocal about the emotions swirling beneath the surface. Then there's loyalty, the way he stands by you, even when no one is watching. A man who is quietly more in love than he admits will protect your reputation, support your endeavors, and defend you in ways that may go unnoticed. This isn't about showing off or earning points. It's instinctive. He feels a sense of responsibility toward your happiness and well-being, and that instinct comes from the depth of his attachment. And when you recognize it, it reinforces the understanding that love isn't always dramatic or verbal. Sometimes it's in the subtle constancy of care, the repeated patterns of devotion that quietly shape the foundation of your bond. You might also notice the way he handles conflict with you. Love, when it's deep and sincere, manifests not in avoidance, but in engagement. He may not be perfect, and he may not always handle disagreements gracefully, but there is a noticeable pattern he wants to understand. He seeks resolution, and he invests the effort to bridge the gaps rather than walk away. This is not about keeping score or controlling outcomes. It's about an unconscious drive to preserve the connection because it matters to him more than he might consciously admit. His desire to reconcile and communicate is a reflection of the love that's already in play, quietly shaping his choices and actions. And then there's the way he supports your growth. A man who is more in love than he realizes will celebrate your successes, encourage your ambitions, and genuinely take joy in your achievements. He doesn't feel threatened by your strength or independence. Instead, he's inspired by it. Notice whether he invests in your growth without expectation of reward, without conditionality. That's a powerful indicator that his feelings are deeper than conscious acknowledgement. When someone genuinely celebrates your progress, they are showing love that is patient, selfless, and enduring. Let's not overlook the way he reacts when you're apart. Absence often reveals the depth of attachment more clearly than presence. Does he check in, even subtly, just to see how you're doing? Does he remember small details from your last conversation and bring them up without prompting? These behaviors demonstrate that his mind is consistently drawn to you, that you occupy a space in his thoughts that goes beyond casual interest. When you recognize these patterns, you realize that love isn't always loud or overt. It often exists in these understated ways, quietly persistent and powerfully real. You might also notice how he invests emotionally in your happiness. A man who is quietly more in love than he admits often experiences your emotions as if they were his own. Your laughter lights him up, your sadness pulls at him, and your stress triggers a desire to soothe and protect. He may not fully understand why he is affected so deeply, but the fact that he is consistently present, consistently caring, and consistently attentive speaks volumes. Love is in the way he mirrors your emotional world and in the way he instinctively prioritizes your peace of mind. And here's something profound to consider. Sometimes a man's love for you is stronger than his ability to articulate it. Words can feel inadequate, even impossible, for someone whose feelings run deeper than conscious awareness. But actions, those small, repeated, seemingly ordinary choices, reveal the truth of his heart. Every time he adjusts, listens, prioritizes, or protects, he is unconsciously declaring love. And when you recognize this, you no longer need verbal validation to feel secure in the connection. You see it, you feel it, and you honor it. Finally, the most empowering aspect of recognizing these signs is that it transforms your perception of love itself. You stop waiting for grand gestures, constant affirmations, or dramatic declarations. Instead, you begin to appreciate the subtleties, the small yet consistent behaviors that reveal genuine attachment. You develop the confidence to understand that love is not just in words, it's in the rhythm of attention, the patterns of care, and the quiet, steadfast investment in your life and happiness. When you notice these signs, you are witnessing love at its most authentic, a force that doesn't need constant validation, because it already exists, deep, unwavering, and often stronger than either of you fully realizes. This understanding equips you with patience, clarity, and emotional intelligence. You no longer feel compelled to chase, to demand, or to question the depth of his feelings. Instead, you can interact with him from a place of security and awareness, allowing the love to grow organically. You see him not just for what he says or consciously intends, but for the truth of his heart that is consistently expressed through actions, priorities, attention, and care. And as you cultivate this awareness, you also cultivate the ability to respond in ways that honor the connection, reinforce the bond, and gently illuminate for him the depth of the feelings that are already present. And as you cultivate this awareness, you also cultivate the ability to respond in ways that honor the connection, reinforce the bond, and gently illuminate for him the depth of the feelings that are already present. But let's go even deeper, because understanding a love that's stronger than conscious awareness requires a shift in perspective. It's not just about noticing what he does, it's about tuning into the energy he brings into the relationship, the subtle currents that run beneath the surface of everyday interaction. There's a difference between observing actions and truly sensing the underlying devotion. Once you start tuning in at this level, you begin to notice things that others often miss. How his attention lingers just a little longer, how he instinctively checks in with your comfort, or the way he shifts his plans to protect your happiness, even in ways he doesn't consciously recognize. This is where emotional literacy becomes a superpower. Recognizing unconscious love isn't about analyzing every word or reading between every line. It's about understanding patterns, rhythms, and the energetic presence he brings into your life. You begin to see love as something that exists not only in declarations but in consistency, in intention, and in subtle choices repeated day after day. You notice how he notices you, truly, deeply notices you, not in a performative way, but in an instinctive, authentic manner. And this understanding fundamentally changes how you interact with him. You no longer rely solely on verbal affirmations. You start to appreciate the language of actions, the poetry in the small gestures, the love that expresses itself quietly but powerfully. Another layer to watch for is how he responds to your passions and ambitions. A man whose heart is more in love than he realizes will become genuinely invested in your journey. He will encourage your growth, celebrate your victories, and provide support when challenges arise, often without thinking about it. This isn't about obligation or wanting to earn favor. It's a natural expression of attachment. His joy becomes connected to yours because your happiness matters to him, even if he cannot yet articulate why. Notice whether he celebrates your wins without envy, whether he encourages your dreams without hesitation, whether he listens when you share your fears and doubts. These are profound indicators of a love that is both present and quietly evolving. Pay attention, too, to how he balances intimacy and space. Love is not about possession, it's about connection. A man more in love than he realizes will respect your independence while still seeking closeness. He will show that he values your autonomy, but simultaneously will find ways to integrate himself into your life without coercion or pressure. The way he navigates this balance, honoring your freedom while maintaining an instinctive desire to be near you, is another subtle but undeniable sign of deep attachment. It demonstrates emotional maturity and a subconscious awareness that your presence in his life is invaluable. One of the most profound signs of this type of love is how he responds to your vulnerabilities. When you allow yourself to be seen in your most authentic moments, does he lean in or recoil? A man whose feelings run deeper than his conscious acknowledgement will approach your vulnerability with care, empathy, and attentiveness. He may offer a comforting word, a steady presence, or a listening ear, not to fix or control, but simply to honor the moment and your trust. These responses are not calculated, they are instinctive, and they reveal a depth of feeling that he may not fully comprehend, but that is undeniably shaping his actions and presence in your life. Even humor can reveal love that is deeper than he realizes. Pay attention to the way he teases you, the playful energy he brings, the little jokes or private moments that only the two of you share. Humor is often a conduit for connection and comfort, a safe space where vulnerability and affection intersect. When he invests in creating these moments, it's a reflection of care and attention. He's seeking connection not through grand gestures, but through shared energy, laughter, and the creation of intimacy that strengthens the emotional bond. This is love in its quiet, persistent, and life-affirming form. Consider, too, the way he handles uncertainty or stress within the relationship. A man more in love than he realizes will demonstrate patience, resilience, and an instinct to preserve the connection even when things are challenging. He may not articulate every feeling, but his commitment will be evident in his actions, showing up when it's hard, maintaining communication even in difficult moments, and working through challenges rather than avoiding them. This consistency under pressure is one of the clearest signs that his feelings are deeper than he consciously acknowledges. Love, at its truest, persists even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unspoken. Pay attention to the energy of anticipation. Does he look forward to spending time with you in ways that seem effortless, almost automatic? Does he think about the little details that will make your moments together more enjoyable or meaningful? Anticipation is a subtle yet profound indicator of attachment. It reflects a mind and heart consistently focused on your presence, a desire to contribute to your happiness before you even ask. This is love working quietly behind the scenes in the details and rhythms of everyday life, shaping his behavior in ways he might not even fully notice. Physical presence also speaks volumes. Not grand displays, but subtle, consistent touches. Brushing against your hand, leaning in slightly, a reassuring arm on your shoulder. These small gestures carry the weight of unspoken affection. Physical touch is one of the most primal forms of communication, and when it is consistent and comforting, it often reveals emotions that words cannot capture. Watch for the way he instinctively seeks closeness without demanding it, how he gauges your comfort while maintaining connection. These micro moments convey love, care, and unconscious attachment more powerfully than declarations ever could. There's a certain rhythm to these behaviors that, once noticed, becomes unmistakable. Patterns emerge: attentiveness, support, patience, humor, vulnerability, protection, anticipation, admiration, all repeated in a subtle, unspoken language. And once you start seeing these patterns, you begin to understand the depth of what's present. You no longer have to question whether he cares or whether he's invested. The evidence is consistent, embodied, and quietly insistent. This awareness allows you to step into the relationship from a place of confidence, security, and clarity rather than doubt or insecurity. And here's something critical: the realization that he is more in love than he realizes can transform how you approach love altogether. It encourages patience, empathy, and a recognition that love does not always follow a linear path. Feelings often develop quietly, beneath the surface, emerging gradually until they can no longer be contained. By observing, acknowledging, and responding to these subtle signs, you create an environment where his love can fully awaken, without pressure or expectation, but with the clarity and mutual respect that strengthen the bond. At the same time, this awareness empowers you to maintain your own sense of worth and boundaries. You don't need to overextend yourself to evoke love or validation. Instead, you can appreciate the love that is already present, nurture it, and respond in ways that honor both your needs and his. Recognizing these signs is a form of emotional literacy that equips you to interact with him in ways that deepen intimacy, foster mutual respect, and reinforce the connection without creating tension or dependence. You become attuned not just to what he says, but to what he does, what he prioritizes, and what he unconsciously communicates through attention, presence, and care. Finally, remember that love is most powerful when it is acknowledged, nurtured, and allowed to grow naturally. By recognizing that he is more in love than he realizes, you shift from a place of uncertainty to one of clarity. You see the consistent, subtle patterns that reveal his attachment. You understand the energy, the investment, and the instinctive care that exists beneath the surface. And in doing so, you create a space where love can thrive, not as something forced or demanded, but as something genuine, enduring, and profoundly real. The recognition of this silent subconscious love transforms not just the way you see him, but the way you experience connection, intimacy, and the unfolding journey of a heart that is quietly, insistently, and deeply committed.